Evening, everyone. Before calling this public meeting of Council to order for November 4th, I would respectfully acknowledge on behalf of Council and the community that the City of Pembroke resides on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, and it is with this statement that we honor and respect the Algonquins on whose land we reside. So calling this meeting to order, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. I'd entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda, moved by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? That is carried. For new business, we have 3 items this evening. The first item is Z8 2025. This meeting has been called to consider the application under the City of Pembroke zoning bylaw 2020-05 to rezone the property municipally known as 1106 Bronx Street and the property municipally known as 1110 Bronx Street from a residential type 2 R2 zone to a residential type 2-38 R2 38 zone. Madam Clerk, if you would please provide a report on how notice was given.
Notice was given by hand-delivered mail and by courier to all owners of property within a 120-meter radius of the subject land, by email to all applicable agencies, and was posted on site on October 3rd, 2025.
Thank you. And at this time, if we could have a planning report from Mr. Hutton. Good evening.
Good evening, Your Worship, and thank you. So this application is actually a new situation for me in bringing reports to you over the past few years, as it is, it's a zoning bylaw amendment application, but it is actually part of a concurrent set of applications with a consent to sever application. So the consent to sever application was already, the decision for consent was approved by the Planning Advisory and Adjustment Committee at their last meeting. But one of the conditions of the provisional consent is that Council pass the corresponding zoning bylaw amendment, which is what I'm bringing to you this evening. So with that said, our applicant, Brittany Cleland, has submitted a site plan proposing the severance of a new lot for residential development, 1106 Bronx Street, from an existing lot of 1110 Bronx Street. The existing property is zoned residential type 2 R2 by the zoning bylaw, and currently a single detached dwelling exists on the property. The proposed retained lot and the proposed severed lot mirror each other. They are identical. So they would each have a frontage of approximately 33 feet, a depth of approximately 124 feet, and an approximate lot area of 4,092 square feet. So the proposed severance would result in a minimum lot area deficiency of 908 square feet, which is short of the required 5,000, a minimum lot frontage deficiency of 17 feet, which is short of the required 50. These deficiencies are the requirement for a zoning bylaw amendment with site-specific reliefs for these items. So the existing single detached dwelling, which would be on the existing lot, would remain on the proposed retained lot. No new setback deficiencies would be created for this building by the proposed severance. For the proposed severed lot, which would have a civic address of 1106 Bronx Street, Ms. Cleland's submitted site plan proposes a new single detached dwelling with an accessory dwelling unit. This use is permitted by both the existing standard R2 zoning, as well it would be permitted under the proposed R2-38 zoning. The site plan shows all applicable setback requirements of the zoning bylaw being met for the proposed building. Now, regarding parking, the zoning bylaw requires 2 spaces per dwelling unit for this configuration, meaning a total of 3 parking spaces would be required for both the single detached as well as the accessory dwelling unit. Ms. Cleland's site plan shows this requirement being met with a single parking space shown in the attached garage and 2 spaces shown in a 24-foot wide driveway. For the retained lot, parking requirements are already met for the existing single detached dwelling. However, Ms. Cleland would also like to widen the existing driveway to a matching width of 24 feet as well. Regarding required parking spaces, this number is shown as being met. However, further site-specific relief is required to allow for the proposed 24-foot driveways. Based on the proposed frontages of 33 feet a maximum of a 10-foot driveway would be permitted by default for each property. This means that relief of 14 feet is required to be granted for each of the proposed driveways. This relief being granted will allow for the required number of parking spaces to be accommodated on each proposed lot. The proposed R238 zoning would apply to, again, both proposed retained and severed lots. It will have the standard permitted R2 uses along with site-specific reliefs for the aforementioned items. Regarding the official plan, the properties are designated residential. As you will find detailed in my report, which has been attached in your agenda packages, this application meets the aims of the official plan as well as the provincial policy statement. And so the planning department is recommending this application be approved.
Mr. Hutton, was there anyone in opposition of the application?
Your worship, we received no informational inquiries nor submissions for the application.
Okay, very good. Was there anyone in support of the application?
Ms. Cleland is present this evening, and she's here and she's able to speak to the application if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. So my name is Brittany. I am the applicant for 1106 Bronx Street. I'm proposing, as Owen has said, to sever my existing property into 2 equal lots to build a single detached home with an accessory dwelling unit. This isn't a big city project. I know a lot of people see me and think that it's big city. It's not. This is local infill, efficient land use with focus on affordability that aligns with the city's objectives. We need more affordable, flexible housing options that allow seniors, families, and young people to stay in the community. By creating this residential lot, I can continue to invest in Pembroke, support increased housing choice, small-scale development, multi-generational living opportunities, while remaining compatible with the existing character of the neighborhood. I will do my best to answer any questions you might have, and I appreciate you listening to me on this matter.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere. Is there a report from Vice Chair of Planning in respect to this matter?
Yes, as Mr. Hutton advised, the PAC did recommend this to council, and there was one vote against, being myself. Generally speaking, the comments trended towards the provincial policy that encourage infilling, as Mr. Hutton just described. The concern by the one that voted against, being myself, was that I feel that this lot is simply, it creates just far too small a lot. I appreciate and understand the provincial policy statements that are recommending infilling, but I don't read those as saying that we should do whatever we feel like doing just to build more houses. In this case alone, we are having to grant relief for minimum lot area, minimum lot frontage for the driveways. How many aspects of our zoning bylaw can we ignore just to build new houses? So that was the commentary around the table on this one, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Keel. With that, is there any members of council that have some questions either for Ms. Cleland? Did I get that right? Or for Mr. Hutton? Seeing none, you get off the hook easy tonight. If anyone wishes to be notified of council's decision, please contact Mr. Hutton at City Hall, and I'd entertain a motion to adjourn this particular matter. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. The next item this evening is that this meeting has been called to consider an application under the City of Pembroke zoning bylaw 2020-05 to rezone the property to be municipally known as 422 Maple Avenue from an institutional zone to a residential type 2 R2 zone, and to rezone the property municipally known as 222 Dixon Street from industrial zone to industrial 6-I6 zone. Madam Clerk, if you could please provide a report on how notice was given.
Notice was given by hand-delivered mail and by courier to all owners of property within a 120-meter radius of the subject land, by email to all applicable agencies, and was posted on site on October 3rd, 2025.
Thank you. And Mr. Hutton, if you'd please kindly provide a report from your perspective from planning.
Thank you again, Your Worship. So oddly enough, as the last file was the first of its nature I'm going to immediately bring you another set of concurrent files, one being a zoning bylaw amendment application, another being a consent to sever application that has been provisionally approved by Planning Advisory and Adjustment Committee. So in this case, our applicant is Edward Fick of Masonic Temple Corporation of Pembroke and District, and he has submitted a site plan requesting consent to sever for a vacant portion of his existing property at 222 Dixon Street, so that the proposed severed portion's sale as a future lot for residential development is allowed. An application for a zoning bylaw amendment for both the proposed severed as well as the proposed retained lot has also been submitted. The existing property of 222 Dixon Street is currently zoned institutional by the zoning bylaw. The current use of the existing building on the property as a Masonic lodge meets the zoning bylaw's definition of a place of assembly, which is a permitted use under the I zoning. The proposed retained lot, which is and would continue to be known as 222 Dixon Street, would have a frontage of approximately 156 feet, a depth of approximately 132 feet, and an approximate lot area of 20,592 square feet. The proposed retained lot greatly exceeds all applicable provisions of its current I zoning. However, the Masonic Lodge would like the option of adding 2 dwelling units within the existing building. As these dwelling units are not a permitted use under the standard I zoning, the proposed institutional special exception 6 zoning is required to grant site-specific relief for 2 dwelling units to be allowed within the existing building. The proposed severed lot, which would be known as 422 Maple Avenue, would have a frontage of approximately 66 feet, a depth of approximately 128 feet, and an approximate lot area of 8,448 square feet. A residential type 2 zoning is being requested for the proposed severed lot under the zoning bylaw amendment application. The proposed severed lot would meet and or exceed all applicable R2 provisions of the zoning bylaw. The proposed severed lot is currently vacant land, and it is the Masonic Lodge's intention that this property be sold for future residential development. The proposed R2 zoning is highly compatible within the neighborhood, as the proposed severed property is surrounded by consistent R2 zoning. Regarding parking, for the proposed retained lot, the existing large parking area of the Masonic Lodge will remain as is, unaffected by the proposed severance. The zoning bylaw requires 3 parking spaces for the 2 proposed apartment dwellings, in addition to 30 parking spaces for the existing place of assembly use, for a total of 33 required parking spaces. The existing parking area can accommodate a minimum of 36 parking spaces, meaning that the zoning bylaw's parking requirements are met and exceeded for the retained lot and the proposed I-6 zoning. For the proposed severed lot, parking requirements would be addressed at the development phase once a specific use is proposed. Standard zoning bylaw requirements would apply. So regarding the official plan, these properties are designated residential by the official plan. This application, as I've detailed in my reports for you, meets the aims of residential infill, intensification, and conversion of an existing building in a built-up area of the city with existing infrastructure. Further, there's pleasant neighborhoods. There are ample sidewalks for pedestrian movement, and municipal water and sanitary sewer services are available at the property. The provincial planning statement's similar aims are also met as detailed in my report, and so the planning department is recommending the approval of this application.
Mr. Hutton, was there anyone in opposition of this application?
No inquiries nor submissions were received, Your Worship.
Okay, and in support of the application, I see Mr. Fick is with us this evening.
Mr. Fick is present.
Good evening, Mr. Fick.
Good evening.
Do you wish to make any comments before we move forward to receiving the Vice Chair's submissions and report?
I believe Mr. Hutton has covered pretty much everything. And as he's noted to me and noted in his report that, yeah, this seems to fit almost perfectly with what the city and the province's goals of infilling is. It'll be creating a full-sized lot for future development, and also with the additional bonus of, potentially adding 2 residential units within the lodge. So I think both fit in well with the city's objectives.
Thank you, Mr. Fick. Councillor Keel, did you want to provide a report as Vice Chair of Planning and Development Committee?
Your Worship, Mr. Fick said exactly what I was going to say. The resolution passed unanimously by the committee. Committee appreciated this use of a normal-sized lot in terms of infilling, thus using essentially unused space here in the city, and also the fact that up to a couple units are going to be put into the existing building, which adds to our apartment stock. So again, it was passed unanimously and recommended to council.
Thank you. Is there any questions from members of council? Seeing none. If anyone wishes to be notified of council's decision, please contact Mr. Hutton at City Hall, and I'd entertain a motion to adjourn this public meeting. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Mr. Fick. The last public meeting for this evening is, a meeting has been called to consider the application under City of Pembroke zoning bylaw 2020-05 to rezone the property municipally known as 203 Isabella Street from residential 4-23 R423 zone to a residential type 4-39 R439 zone. Madam Clerk, if you'd please provide report on how notice was given.
Notice was given by hand-delivered mail and by courier to all owners of property within a 120-meter radius of the subject land, by email to all applicable agencies, and was posted on site on October 3rd, 2025.
Thank you. And Mr. Hutton, if you'd kindly provide a planning report.
Thank you, Your Worship. So breaking with my pattern this evening, this is a standard zoning bylaw amendment application. In this case, our applicant, Mr. Ashraf Arif, has submitted a zoning bylaw amendment application to add a dwelling unit within the existing apartment building on his property of 203 Isabella Street. The property is currently zoned a site-specific residential type 4-23 zoning. This site-specific zoning explicitly states that permitted uses shall be limited to a maximum 5-unit apartment building and 1 office, or a maximum of a 6-unit apartment building with no office permitted. Currently, the building at 203 Isabella Street contains 6 apartment dwellings, which is in line with the current site-specific zoning limitations. As Mr. Arif would like to add an additional 7th apartment dwelling within the building, a zoning bylaw amendment is required. The proposed R4-39 zoning is required to remove the current site-specific limit on the number of dwelling units on the property. So rather than relying on a site-specific limit to control the number of dwellings permitted on the property, the R4-39 zoning will simply rely on zone provisions and parking requirements to more organically limit the number of dwellings just to the number that the property can naturally accommodate based on these requirements. The sole items of that the R4-39 zoning will carry over from the existing R4-23 zoning are the site-specific setback reliefs for the existing building. The proposed R4-39 zoning is extremely compatible within the neighborhood. 203 Isabella Street exists at a transition point where largely R2 zoning to the west changes to largely institutional zoning to the east. The existing apartment building at 203 Isabella Street is of a modest size on a large lot, and this building footprint would not be changed with the addition of the proposed dwelling unit. The modest-sized apartment building on a large lot in an R4 zone provides a gentle transition, again, from residential zoning to institutional zoning and vice versa. Regarding parking, the zoning bylaw requires 1.5 spaces per dwelling unit for apartment dwelling units, meaning that a total of 11 parking spaces would be required should this building contain 7 dwelling units. On the submitted site plan, which is actually taken from a previous zoning bylaw amendment file from 2011 for the property, 11 standard parking spaces are shown to be accommodated in the existing parking area on the property. And so that requirement of the zoning bylaw is met. Regarding the official plan, the property is again designated residential by Schedule A of the official plan, and the proposed zoning is absolutely in keeping with this direction in the official plan, again, allowing for residential intensification and the conversion of an existing building in an already built-up area with sufficient infrastructure. Again, as detailed in my report, other aims of the official plan, as well as the provincial planning statement, are absolutely met for these applications. So the planning department is recommending their approval.
Mr. Hutton, was there anyone in opposition of this application?
No, Your Worship, no inquiries nor submissions were received.
And alternatively, was there anyone in support of the application?
So Mr. Arif is actually out of the country at the moment. He did have a representative from his company to represent the application at the Planning Advisory and Adjustment Committee, but they were unable to be here this evening.
Fair enough. And at this time, would Councillor Keel wish to bring forward a report as Vice Chair of Planning and Development from the Planning and Advisory and Adjustment Committee?
Thank you, Your Worship. This is another example of us adding to our local apartment stock. As Mr. Hutton said, the committee was quite thrilled to see, frankly, such an easy add. There's nothing changing the building. I believe they're just making a renovation in order to add in one more apartment. Committee noted that our apartment stock does need help locally. This building in particular is right on the other side of downtown from Algonquin College, and so that produces certainly some usefulness to the city. Of course, I don't need to tell other councillors and yourself, Your Worship, the amount of work that Ash and Center Capital has put into the city of Pembroke. So this is, again, them doing additional work to help us out during this housing crisis.
Thank you. Are there any questions from members of council? Seeing none. If you wish to be notified of council's decision, please contact Mr. Hutton at City Hall. And with that, I'd entertain a motion to not only adjourn this item on the public meeting of council, but to adjourn the entire public meeting of council. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Purcell. Those in favor? That is carried. We are now adjourned. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Planning and Development Committee of November 4th, 2025. Calling the meeting to order at 6:23. First thing we have on the agenda is the disclosure of pecuniary interests and general nature thereof. Seeing none, I would ask for the approval or amendments of the meeting agenda. Moved by Councillor Purcell, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere. Debate. All in favor? Carried. Then we have the minutes which have been circulated from the October 7th, 2025 meeting. Moved by Councillor Lafreniere, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Debate. All those in favor? Carried. Any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none. First, we have on the agenda a presentation from Mayor Ron Gervais. Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Keel. This evening, it's my great pleasure to present a Mayor's Award to a resident of the City of Pembroke who is joining us this evening, being Mr. Mac Plant. So, which I don't believe he knew why he was coming here this evening. So, for those that don't know Mac Plant is a dedicated, community-minded resident of the City of Pembroke. I've known Mac for many, many years, probably in excess of 20 years through the Kiwanis Club of Pembroke. Mac has given of his talents to the city of Pembroke and the community in many different ways, including his commitment to the youth through Kiwanis, as well as seniors through the 50-plus Active Living Center. In Kiwanis, Mac has had the pleasure of being the lieutenant governor as well as past president. He has been involved in many projects, including the toy and food drive, which I was just saying to the CAO is up and coming, the fashion show year after year to raise money for various children projects, as well as to work on the creating the accessibility of the field house here in Pembroke. Mac has operated a successful business in our community until 2009 when he sold the business and retired. And as one resident once described Mac, is he does a lot of things without an attaboy, and we could certainly use more individuals like Mac in the community. And so I wanted to thank Mac Plant for everything that he's done for our community, both, as I say, the seniors, the youth, you name it, you've always been there, you've always done so much for our community. And so the least that I could do is to award you a mayor's award. So if you wanted to come up, Mac. So good evening, Mac.
Good evening, Ron.
On behalf of the City of Pembroke, I want to present you with this Mayor's Award presented to yourself for always going above and beyond for our community, November 4th, 2025.
Thank you very much, and very pleased to have operated a business in the community and to continue to be actively involved with a cane now in the community, but wishing you all the best with our community. Thank you.
No, thank you. So I have an award for you as well as a book from Massimino, who's a local photographer that takes many great photos, probably a number of the different sites that you've seen countless times over the years. So I just wanted to present that to you, and I think they want you to spin
Turn
around.
around.
They
Okay,
want
wait
you to
now.
spin around. There we go. There you go.
Okay, let's get rid of this. Here, Dan.
Yep, I got it.
Thank you.
Oh, you're right. Did you want to? Did you want to say something to everybody? You don't have to. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
This is quite a shock, and I'll speak to President Andrew at a later date. But anyway, I was joining him tonight to hear at the meeting about our waterfront. And I think our waterfront and our community is quite amazing. We have a wonderful waterfront, well-maintained. And through the years, I've had 52 years with Kiwanis, and always interested in our community, our hospital, and our last fashion show raised $10,000 for the hospital. So anyway, continue on with a wonderful community.
Oh, no, it doesn't want to go back in. And it's in a nice case so that
There
it
you
doesn't get
go.
broken. And
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. The next thing we have on the agenda is the bicentennial celebration planning, and we have Tourist and Digital Media Officer Elijah McEwen with us tonight to give a report.
All right, good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'm bringing forth the first report as we begin the preliminary stages of the planning for our bicentennial celebration in 2028. So at this point, we are looking for some direction and clarification, if not an endorsement here from the Planning and Development Committee, of the draft outline of the 200th anniversary celebration that's been attached as appendices to the report to allow staff to proceed with some initial planning tasks and coordination alongside the advisory committee and its working groups. So, of course, 2028 is coming up. Initially in 1928, this community celebrated 100 years, and in 1978, a subsequent celebration was thrown for the sesquicentennial. Council to this point has voiced support for marking that 200th anniversary in 2028, which truly will be the only time we'll be able to do that in our lifetimes. That 200 years only comes around once. So this 200th anniversary advisory committee has been established, and we have many committed community members serving on it now through our first couple of meetings. To this point, with some outlines here that were put together by myself based on reviewing what had been done in previously here in Pembroke and in some other communities, as well as some preliminary input from some community members. We put together this starting point outline, I think, is an appropriate place to say, as we're about 2.5 years out still, but that time will go quickly, especially with the level of planning that's needed for some of these activities. So we've broken this down into 6 main categories that you'll see both in the report and then broken down in further detail in Appendix A as where we saw the main hubs of activities for this project. The first was looking at heritage and history, the second on legacy projects and beautification, the third on events and festivals, and community engagement and education, branding and promotion, and funding and sponsorship. So we have a number of projects within each of those areas that we're hoping to accomplish, and at this point are just looking to know where to go from here. So at this point, staff is seeking committee direction here today on whether city staff, of course, with regular reporting back to this committee, should lead that overall planning process, or if the advisory committee should be the ones taking that primary role, with staff simply serving in an administrative role, because that I think will drastically alter the way we approach this. So we just want some clarity on that before we move forward. And then we'll get into funding in just a moment as we get to Appendix B for some clarity there as well. But you will see that we've laid out what we see as the next steps here after tonight, and that's developing the branding, launching public engagement surveys to see what the community thinks and wants to see, begin some outreach to grant program advisors to figure out what can be stacked, what will be appropriate for in this project, and what public and private money can be brought into this. Start to lay that groundwork foundation with some potential major sponsors as well to see what they would need in this committee to feel comfortable coming on board, and then get into those working groups and establish them and flesh them out a little more. And we've laid out some other potential steps moving forward there. We'll touch on these alternatives first before we get into the budget, because obviously with a project of this scale, among the first questions, if not the first, is how are we going to pay for this? So we looked at this from an approach that the committee had of, we want to try to start big, and if we need to scale down, we can scale down from there. But aim high and then see what's realistically out there for us, and we can adapt as we need to from there. But the committee did agree that the outline and budget that we have in front of us today was both achievable and realistic, and could be accomplished. Looking at those alternatives, though, of course, council could decide to scale up or scale down what we have here, or completely forego major celebrations. Some of the ways that you could scale this down to really lower that budget is removing major performers from any entertainment would drastically reduce that budget, or removing some legacy projects as well could do that. However, it is worth noting that those approaches would likely make us less competitive for grants and some major sponsors as well. So they would, of course, come with some pros and cons there, as well as the long-term legacy of the event. We can also look, as we get into the budget, of shifting some of this around a little bit. If we want that burden to be less on 2026 and have it scale up as opposed to be flat through the 3 years, then that, of course, there's an option as well. Or shift some funds around to see where we can achieve those revenues from instead of from the proposed taxation amount. So looking first at that Appendix A, you can see here in the framework and outline that we've laid out across a few pages some key timeline highlights, as well as the main initiatives that each of these subcommittees and areas would oversee and be responsible for taking care of, as well as anything that may come from that public engagement or what we analyze internally isn't feasible or isn't relevant to the overall project. And so I won't go through everything there, but will allow you to review what is there. Some of the key highlights, though, that we get into here that we see a little further in Appendix C, as well as under 4.0, are those events and celebrations, because in talking with staff and the advisory committee, it was agreed that we want this to both be a celebration during 2028, but we don't want it to just be a celebration during that year. We want a legacy to last beyond that year as well, so we can look back with fond memories on what happened there. We have some of those lasting mementos from both 1928 and 1978, and we'd ideally like to do that again for 2028. In the events and celebrations, though, you will see that we've highlighted this both with a marquee week of a homecoming week, that week leading into Canada Day, and the weekend afterwards, but also as well tying in all year long with established community events and helping those events grow and be more impactful during that year to increase tourism and visitation to the community, as well as increase the impact on the community right here during it. Looking into Appendix B, we can take a quick look through the budget. I will note that the final project budget will be balanced. We're a couple thousand off right now, just as we roughly put some numbers together, but we will have that evened out when the time comes. On the expenses side, you'll see it broken down by those main groups, and you'll see the bulk of that cost does come in the events and festivals line, but as well some across everything else. Then in the revenue side, we have a significant amount there in the merchandise and souvenirs, which, as we note, can be scaled up if we realize, say, February 2028, we've already sold out of this item. All of these can very quickly be turned around and turned around at a good profit there. So there's no harm in ordering small and scaling up from there. As well, then, we'll skip over to some revenues and sponsorships and donations for now, where we see some revenue coming in. In discussion with the committee and staff to this point, we feel that as much as possible, it should be a celebration for the community and should be open to as many people in the community as possible. And therefore, we want this to be as accessible as possible. And so that ultimately leads to there not being a lot of event revenue coming in, which you'll notice here. There are really only a few events that we've projected here as actually being ticketed, and those main celebrations being free and open to the entire community to be able to celebrate. And we make up for the bulk of that then with the projections shown from local sponsors and community organization donations, which would include going after some corporate sponsors as well as those right here in our community, ideally going after and targeting the ones who actually have roots here in our community and therefore would like to join in that celebration with us. Then we get to the three biggest pieces here. We've got the city budget and the municipal accommodation tax, where we've projected $225,000 from both of those over the course of 3 years. So that city budget we have coming at $75,000 for each of the next 3 years, but as I said, we can adjust that if that's the committee's preference, or look at altering that where need be. The municipal accommodation tax portion, I'll just remind committee that that's not coming from municipal taxation. That's coming from the revenues coming in to the accommodators here in Pembroke. And we are anticipating approximately $150,000 coming in annually to Pembroke for the municipal side of that can be allocated wherever council desires. So we projected $75,000 of that $150,000 for each of the next 3 years to help this project, which should be tremendous for tourism throughout the year here in Pembroke. Then the important thing to note here is we've got this list of public and private grants that we have identified as potentially being suitable, particularly the Building Canada Through Arts and Heritage fund, which looks at celebrating major anniversaries in communities and can get up to $200,000. We're looking at a federal program here that exists specifically for the exact kind of thing we're doing. So I think it's a great opportunity for us, as well as something like Experience Ontario, which does need to expand something that already exists. But with our marquee events happening around Canada Day, I think we've got a good opportunity to tap into that funding, as well as some great opportunities through Ontario Arts Council for some of those more artistic pieces, be it filmmaking, statues, art pieces, or anything like that, as well as a number of others that we've listed there. You will see here in these revenues, we've currently planned for zeros across the board. We aren't going to have zeros across the board in grants. We are anticipating a lot of money coming through in grant funding, but realistically, when that funding comes through, with the nature of this project, we are going to need to pre-plan and pre-spend a little bit, and so that's where we're looking at having these other revenue sources coming from. So in an ideal perfect world, we're looking at grant funding coming in that can offset the cost that the city has invested, that city budget can then be reallocated as necessary elsewhere in the city budget when the time comes. So that's ultimately what we are looking at there. So we are looking at that $225,000 across 3 years, but we are looking at reimbursing that through grant funding if successful. So ultimately tonight, I just wanted to give this committee an idea of where we're at, because ultimately when I jumped into this a few weeks ago, we were really starting from a point of we'd like to celebrate the bicentennial. And so we developed this roadmap based on that. But I want to have an idea from this committee if we are on the right track here, if this is a framework that we want to pursue, where we want to go in terms of those funding sources, particularly from the city budget and the municipal accommodation tax allocation, and then what we want to do in terms of direction of this project from both a staff side as well as that committee side. And of course, I'm happy to answer any questions or go into any further detail here as well. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Lafreniere?
Through the chair, great, very detailed plan for the event. It will be a big celebration. I like the fact you've got all your grants, down on paper, but I agree you do need to know moving forward. You need money to work with until the grant money comes in. So I'm supporting this 100%. I trust that you're going to do what you can to get as much money in the door as you can through sponsorships and grants and things. So when it comes to staff, I think the committee, I know you're going to be setting up subcommittees to work on the different things. So I don't know that we need the city to be overly involved. I mean, from a budgeting perspective, of course, finances and that kind of thing, but I find that sometimes if you micromanage too much, it takes the excitement out of the committees, you know, especially if it's public, people from the general public and business partners. And so I don't know what other council feels like, but I think that it should be arm's length and staff do what they have to do in order to just orchestrate it and make sure that the funds are allocated properly and that type of thing. So I'm excited and I have confidence that this is going to be a great event. Yeah.
Councillor Plummer?
Thank you. Question to Elijah. I'm not familiar with how many people are on this committee, and is there, obviously there's council representation? Who's on the council?
Yeah, so we have, I believe, 12 representatives, including Mayor Jerva, Councillor Keel, and Councillor Purcell. Are all sitting on there as well as some representatives from certain organizations like the PBIA and OVTA, and then some community members. And we are looking at expanding that, though, with those subcommittees, because we have 12 people and 6 subcommittees that all have their work cut out for them. So we are looking at that, especially as we get into 2027 and 2028.
Right, so your question, I believe, to council here was to continue with the working group forward, or use staff as kick it more to staff to work on it? Was that what your question was?
Yeah, I think essentially that's, you know, under a staff direction, the committee and working groups wouldn't go away. It's more or less who is taking the lead on achieving these things, or planning or organizing. Is it more from a staff is saying, here are the tasks we need done and giving those to the committee, or the committee is going out and doing those things and just letting us know where the money needs to go, and whatnot else from there.
Right, so we're always, we always have discussions around the table how it's pressed staff is for time and resources and everything, and they always say if we had an infinite budget, we could have more staff and we could cover all the things we want on our wish list. But I think this is a good opportunity to use this working group, as we do have council representation on it as well, so if they can keep us informed. So I think you should proceed on as the way you're going, I think the right direction. My only question, obviously this is just your first budget, and nothing's completely fleshed out. But $200,000 for a marquee event and concert, that's a lot of dollars. So what are your thoughts? Like, I don't know if is that just a placeholder right now, or is that anything? How did you come up with that number?
So we have been having discussions with some booking agents. This is really where we get that, if we start knocking out major performers, that number can come way down. That's just realistically the cost if we're putting together a handful of major performers at this point. We're not looking at high-end acts, we're looking at low to medium-end acts. And between production and artist fees, it's very high now. So that's what the bulk of that cost would actually be.
Right. And then with that, you said there'd be no revenue from that. That would be a free concert?
Yes, just because realistically it is hard to host a ticketed event in our parks. It's not impossible. We did it with Waterfront Festival. It is difficult though, and I think potentially the revenues that would come from that, as opposed to trying to find the revenues elsewhere, say if we achieved more grant funding coming in, found more sponsors, I think the community goodwill from that would offset the look of what we would need to do to make a ticketed event happen in the park. It's a little different when we're, say, in the PMC or something where we actually have doors and walls already, but a little tougher to manage in the park.
Okay, well, I'll leave that to the committee to flesh out. Thank you.
Councillor Purcell?
Thanks, Elijah. That was a great presentation. I think, be sitting on the committee and trying to understand, the path forward, it's a little difficult when you don't know what the resources that you have available to you. I know there'll be a topic of discussion at our budget deliberations that we're having this year in terms of solidifying those dollars and where those dollars may come from. But I think right now we should probably proceed as if we're going to hit these targets And then, we can alter that as we go along when we have those discussions in December and in January. But I think this is a really good foundation piece, and I thank Elijah for doing that. One of the things that I think when we talked about establishing this group is that we'd have a working group. So it should be a working group. So I totally agree that, we should hand it off to the leads in regards to the various different leads that we have identified for the different areas, for the 6 major objectives, and let them run with it, and then, report back on a regular basis with, again, like you had said, additional oversight in terms of the budgeting pieces and stuff like that. So there's some transparency there. Yeah. Thank you.
So I couldn't agree more with what's being said, and it's an excellent report, and it brings council up to date. It's certainly an enthusiastic committee that's come together to address the question, if you will, from Councillor Plummer, is that there is councillor oversight, if you will, the individuals that are on that's on this committee and then willing to be on working groups are movers and shakers, and I believe that they will come through and gather even more steam and other individuals to come together and share the enthusiasm and to make this a success. Like when I look at Busker Fest, when I look at the multicultural event, there's no charge being charged to it, but it's obtaining grants from different sources. It's getting individuals that are of like mind to try to come together and do come together to make it successful, creating then economic development and tourism. I don't know what the city did previously. I know when I look at the memorabilia that Elijah has put together, I can see lots of different businesses that advertise in it. It's not just there so that they'll be there in memoria, but it's also, I have no doubt that they put their money where their mouth is to be in that particular book, and so it's coming together, getting the different businesses to come together, and so I know there's a lot of enthusiasm at that committee, and so certainly thank all the committee members as well as Councillor Purcell and Councillor Keel for coming together and sharing that enthusiasm and getting them going. So, thanks.
Councillor Lafreniere?
Just further briefly, volunteer recruitment is something I think that we have to focus on here too, because it's great to say we're going to have all these events, but it takes a lot of on-site support for a lot of events. And right now our volunteer recruitment, I don't even know if it exists. I know that Laurentian Valley is very successful in getting volunteers out for their different events they've been having. So, maybe they weren't the last time, because you're right, they were posting it. But I know the winter Halloween trick-or-treat thing still had a lot of people on site, and I think we need to look into that and start early, saying, would you like to be part of this celebration, and start looking at what we have to do, because I know it was kind of a tangled web. We brought it up at Recreation, and there seems to be a lot of things like hurdles we have to jump nowadays to train volunteers. So if we could look into that as a sort of a side thing before this starts and see what's the simplest way to bring volunteers on board. I think we need to do that. Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Abdallah?
Thank you. Good work, Elijah, you and the committee, everyone involved. A very well laid out plan. Homecoming week, June 24th, very exciting. We've never had a homecoming week here as long as I've been around. I really like the idea of the major projects in infrastructure, notably the Indigenous mural, that's giving credit. That's something that we have to follow up on. We have to follow through on the Indigenous mural. Concerts, and I also like the section on the community engagement and youth. That's so important, and that's a well laid out program that you have there. I think that the committee is well experienced to, take the lead, plus the volunteers. I think people will step up to these subcommittees. I'll be volunteering in the concert end with my experience, and I know what these artists charge. So, but it's a really well laid out plan, and it's going to be a great year, 200 years. Thank you.
May I speak from the chair? Okay. So I think at the end of the day, this deserves to be big. Hitting your 200th anniversary is not a small accomplishment, but what I'm also going to say is timing-wise, we came off COVID, we bounded into an inflationary crisis, we're dealing with a housing crisis. It doesn't hurt to have some good to look forward to. And that can bring the community spirits up, which can bring the community up, which can have lasting and rebounding effects. And so I look at this as not just a celebration, although there's going to be many. I look at this as something that we can look forward to, that the community can come together with. And I'll be honest, I think right now we need that. In terms of this being, a marquee and large event, I don't have a problem with that, because when was the last time, the city really had a year-long celebration about itself? With respect to the budgeting, I certainly want to thank Elijah for putting that together. I think that was important to do very early on, especially for a committee that has some members on it that there are, apart from the three councillors, there are some others, including our chair, that would probably understand municipal budgeting and stuff like that, but there are others that probably have never dealt with a municipality and how it funds things. So I think getting the budget done and sort of an outlook early on is important. With respect to the staffing, I agree with everything that's been said so far. We need Elijah to be doing Elijah's job. But obviously, this committee does need some high-level supervision. So the note that I wrote was high-level supervision by staff, low-level work by the working groups. Obviously, there's some of these events, for instance, the proposed homecoming week, basically ties in part of Canada Day. So I'm sure we'll be looking, Councillor Lafreniere, your department, Parks and Rec, and Claudia has been attending our meetings. I know with the Coronation Park proposal, operations is already producing plans and whatnot, so it will be all hands on deck. But certainly we need Elijah to be doing his normal day job, and hopefully it'll just be a matter of supervision, light level assistance, and sounding off of that. And in terms of the lasting projects, those are some of the more expensive things, including the Coronation Park upgrade and whatnot. But that's going to be something that, presumably, and in fact, I don't want to speak for anyone around this table, but I think thought, even before this, has crossed the minds of some councillors and whatnot that Coronation Park could use a little help. So in some ways, we're just piggybacking that event with a signature event by the city. The budgeting, I think, from my speaking with you, Elijah, is that we wanted it to be realistic, but at the same time, at the moment, I think, are very conservative on the revenue side, suggesting that we would only get $200,000 from our community over the next 3 years. I'll be honest with you, I hope that I'm right in thinking that that's pretty low. That's 200 people donating $1,000 to their local community. I don't think that sounds that big, to be honest. And the fact that we're budgeting early, and I also had this conversation with Elijah, means that we might be able to, approach some donors very quickly and say, you can actually spread your donation out over a couple of years. It's not a one-time thing. So I think the committee is being very proactive. I look forward to the working groups getting going, and it's good to hear that some others, the deputy mayor said he'd love to assist. So I'm really looking forward to this project. I think it's going to be a great deal of good news a few years from now. And I think you wanted a motion of some sort, Elijah, or you wanted just, because I don't think we were looking for council to say we want you to do this. We were hoping council would endorse the concept, right?
Yeah, I think essentially just so that I'm not running off doing whatever I want, or that's the perception out there, I'd like there to be some kind of direction that this is what we're doing. And then further to that, just as we get into the working group discussion and going that route, Just the direction for us to move forward with advertising for those working groups to recruit community members as well would be ideal.
Councillor Plummer?
I would move that council agrees with the presented plan and moves forward with the working groups.
The presented draft plan?
Correct, draft plan.
Okay. Seconded, I'm guessing, by the Deputy Mayor. Any further discussion on that question? All in favor? That is passed. Any further direction or anything to Elijah? Does
Perfect.
Elijah,
Thanks, everyone.
does Elijah want any further direction?
I think we're clear and we've got some things to move forward on now. So thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Elijah.
Thanks, Elijah.
Next on our agenda, we have Director Colleen Soriel to discuss the pre-approval of the new official plan.
Thank you. So the recommendation is that the Planning and Development Committee of Council endorse and recommend a pre-approval of J.L. Richards and Associates Limited for the preparation of a new official plan at a cost of $67,470.40 plus HST, noting that this expenditure is budgeted in the 2026 budget. So the recommended proposal was received from J.L. Richards. They provided two costs, one for a 5-year review and one for a whole new official plan, which means if the new official plan is approved by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, it can last for 10 years. So the first cost for the 5-year review was $65,338, and the cost for a whole new official plan, which could be in effect for 10 years, was $67,470. So this amount, the $67,470, has been added to the 2026 budget, and staff is seeking approval to begin the process prior to the approval of the budget. The new official plan is a longer option because Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing has to approve it. So if it was a 5-year review, we're probably looking, hopefully 6 months. We may be looking at closer to a year now because of that approval that's required. So under the Ontario Planning Act, municipalities are required to regularly review their official plan to ensure it remains current with provincial policies and growth trends. A 5-year review plan is an update or a refinement of the city's existing official plan, and it involves reviewing current policies, land use designations, and mapping. The new official plan, on the other hand, is a comprehensive full-scale replacement of the existing plan. It involves a complete reevaluation of land use policies, growth management strategies, and community objectives. And again, if we go with the new official plan, it's good for 10 years. So the Planning Act states that when a new official plan is approved, Council shall revise the plan no less frequently than 10 years as a new plan after it comes into effect. So presently, the city's official plan, which came in as a new plan, was enacted in 2016 and must be updated in 2026. So we're looking at updating to include guiding development, looking at long-term planning, promoting consistency, environmental protection, economic development. And we hope that we want to look at climate change, economy, natural environment, transportation, health and well-being, land use, natural hazards, housing, heritage, and recreation, which would all be covered in the new official plan. So the request for proposal was publicly advertised and tendered. 6 proposals were received and evaluated by myself, the planner, in the presence of the purchasing manager and deputy treasurer on October 29th. And the recommended proposal was J.L. Richards, and it was chosen because of their qualifications and experience, their past projects, which were similar to the city's requirements, They're a reputable firm founded in 1955. The methodology and proposed approach was in line with the city's requirements, and the price for the 5-year review, as well as the new official plan update, were the lowest of the proposals received. So staff would recommend that the new official plan approach, as the 10-year review requirement, ensures that the city's official plan remains a relevant and responsive document aligned with both provincial objectives and local needs. So your direction is required.
Councillor Plummer?
I would move we accept the planning direction to go with the new official plan to last a 10-year period.
Seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Further comment? Councillor Purcell?
What is the impact in terms of budget if we're pushing it up from 2026? I know there's 2 months left. but-
Okay, so in the 2026 planning budget, it's already budgeted for the $67,470, but I'm asking for pre-approval, so can I start it right now? That's
Okay, but it wouldn't impact this year's?
not in
Okay,
2025 at all.
Perfect,
No.
okay.
May I speak from the chair? So obviously we heard this is something we have to do because it's been 10 years since the last official plan. Not going to ask why, but it's only a couple $1,000s more to do a 10-year plan as opposed to a 5-year review. So I think that's an easy brainer. And I mean, at the end of the day, as I'm sure Ms. Soriel could speak to at another time, so much has changed since 2016. Our focus on housing development, the focus on environmental and active living planning. I think, 10 years might not seem like a long time, but in the planning world, it would seem that a lot has changed. So doing a full 10-year new plan, I certainly endorse that. Any other thoughts from anyone around the table? There's a motion on the floor to proceed with the 10-year new plan. All in favor? Unanimously approved. Motion to adjourn, Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our November 4th Finance and Administration Committee meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none. Motion to approve the agenda. Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? Approved. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the October 7th Finance and Administration Committee meeting, moved by Councillor Lafreniere, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? Carried. Any business from those minutes? Seeing none. We move on to new business, and we have our monthly report. Welcome, Chief Sal from the Fire Department.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my monthly report covers from October 1st to October 28th. And within this month, we celebrated Fire Prevention Week. And the theme for this year was Charge into Fire Safety, Lithium-Ion Batteries in Your Home. The focus of Fire Prevention Week was to educate city residents and community members about lithium-ion batteries, the fire risks they pose, and how to implement good fire prevention measures in their household. Our social media platforms send key messaging before and during Fire Prevention Week to reinforce the importance of safely using, charging, and recycling lithium-ion batteries, as well as other fire prevention tips. We will continue with our Charge educational campaign in November. This campaign focuses on breaking down the word charge and builds on lithium-ion battery topics discussed during this year's Fire Prevention Week. We kicked off the year with Mayor Gervais and Sparky at the ceremonial puck drop at the Lumber Kings game, and the Professional Firefighters Association donated to the kids Chuck-a-Puck. Our information booth and smoke alarm exchanges were held at the West End Plaza, Giant Tiger, and Pembroke Mall throughout the week. On Saturday, we read to children at the Pembroke Public Library. And finally, we closed out the week with our annual open house. Another successful Firefighter for a Day contest is in the books, and this year's winners are Felix from Jean Lajoie with the slogan, "Stay safe, plan your escape," and Brock from Our Lady of Lourdes with the slogan, "Keep your exits clear, fire safety starts here." The winning students will have their slogans displayed, and I will add that they are on the PFD half-ton right now, and they'll get to spend an afternoon at the fire hall working and training with the firefighters, so we'll still trying to coordinate a date that works for both the winners. We conducted fire drills at the city schools, promoting the need for escape planning and practicing. We began visiting the classrooms after Fire Prevention Week, adding to the information we presented during the fire drills and introducing the children to fire prevention tips for lithium-ion batteries. I'd like to offer my thanks to all the members of the Pembroke community who stepped forward and offered their support to our open house and our Fire Prevention Week activities. We also conducted 15 fire drills in total in the time span in this report, as well as 6 fire safety presentations at the city schools. Our smoke alarm campaign with St. Joseph's Nonprofit Housing Corporation and Renfrew County Housing Corporation has wrapped up this month. So all units falling under the 2 agencies' umbrellas have undergone smoke alarm inspections, as well as general fire and life safety inspections. Our messaging continues in the Eganville Leader, and our messaging on Pembroke's radio stations focus primarily on Fire Prevention Week themes, but we also put forward safety tips regarding home heating appliances and carbon monoxide awareness. In October, we gained 17 new followers on Facebook, bringing the total to 1,347 for Facebook. Our fire prevention messaging is outlined in the report, as well as some of the events that we promoted. Education in the department, acting captains Verdeel and Zimmerman continue a post-class assignment for their NFPA 1041 Instructor 2 course. All staff are enrolled or have completed the lithium-ion batteries and overview for fire professionals in Ontario course through the Ontario Fire College. Acting Captain Zimmerman and Acting Captain Kelly attended and completed NFPA 1006 Water Rescue. Firefighter Troutman completed NFPA 470, the Hazmat Operations course, while Firefighter Troutman and Firefighter Gibbon are currently enrolled in the NFPA 1035 Fire and Life Safety Educator course, and Firefighter Kahi attended the Ontario Professional Firefighters Association Health and Safety Conference. In September, the annual Vulnerable Occupancy Fire Inspection was completed at Supple's Landing. Myself, as the Community Emergency Management Coordinator, attended the DEMCON Emergency Management Conference this month. Emergency exercise planning continues, and as a reminder, the date for the exercise is April 22nd, 2026. The Emergency Operations Center training room hosted 6 meetings and training sessions in the month of October. The Firefighters Association was, of course, the lead sponsor for our open house for Fire Prevention Week, and it is through their support this event is successful year after year. I really can't stress how important their donation of time and monetary donations really. Without that, I'd never be able to do it. So the association did sponsor Chuck-a-Puck. They also supported the Jamie Bramberger charity hockey game. And just as a reminder, the association's Chili Fest is coming up. It is Thursday, November 20th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Pembroke Fire Hall. Our career training for the month is outlined in the report. Our volunteer training for the month focused on small engines on the fire ground, overhaul and loss prevention. Our recreational burning, you can still see that we have conducted 2 inspections and 2 new permits were delivered or I guess approved in October. In October, as we wrapped up our smoke alarm program with those 2 agencies mentioned earlier, we conducted 104 smoke alarm inspections with 114 alarms tested, where 1 was missing, 1 was not working, 1 required new batteries, and we did install 1 new alarm. In total for October, 185 inspections and consultations were completed, as well as 3 fire safety plans were approved. Our incident responses, we did respond to 4 fires in October. Luckily, you can see at the bottom where it says estimated dollar loss, the dollar loss was low. These were pretty insignificant fires, except for 1, which had the potential to be devastating, but we were notified quickly, got on scene quickly, and were able to extinguish it before too much damage occurred. So in total, we had 42 responses in October. As far as letters of warning, we issued 9 in October, with 1 fine issued and 1 fine was paid, and 1 fine is still outstanding.
Thank you, Chief, for that detailed report. Do we have questions or comments for the Chief from the Councillor Frenier?
Through the chair, Chief, the wildfire, was that in Laurentian Valley?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I failed to mention that. In the report, I do say that. So Laurentian Valley did experience some pretty significant wildfires in the month of October. While they were attending one specific incident, the city, we did respond in the support role to 1 MVC and another wildland fire, which was a little closer in the built-up area in the Stafford area. So
Was that around Elgin? Was it on the other side of Elgin Street? Because there was a wildfire there, and I'm wondering if we got caught.
So the one that we were at was closer on Forest Road, Jean Avenue area.
Okay, so they must have handled the one on Elgin themselves.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, Councillor Purcell?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to take the opportunity just to send a shout out to Josh Wormke. The chief was out for lunch with Josh. Josh is celebrating his birthday, and if you all know Josh, he's always got a smile or a joke to tell you. And he's very willing to help, and he dresses up as Sparky all the time. And he also was showing me some of his choices in terms of fire equipment for the mayor to look at budget time today. So, so just a big shout out to Josh, and thank you very much for his support. So, and thank you, Chief, for all the support that you do for our community, and and for Josh as well. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item, Firemark Incorporated, agency agreement, Chief Sell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the recommendation that Finance and Administration Committee endorse and recommend Council approve the execution of an agency agreement with Firemark Inc., FMI, designating FMI as agent for the City of Pembroke for the purpose of filing claims to recover certain costs associated with fire responses by the Pembroke Fire Department. You'll see that the CAO has reviewed it, and Treasurer Lochte has provided comment as well on this report. So for the background, Firemark Incorporated specializes in obtaining monies that are currently available to fire departments through homeowner and commercial business owner insurance policies in the event of a fire. Firemark Inc. is a Canadian-owned business and operated company. Currently, Ontario is their largest client portfolio, with almost 1/3 of the 444 municipalities as clients. Some I guess, outside of local, but local clients include cities of North Bay and Cornwall and the town of Arnprior. So the economic realities require that we seek out opportunities to recover costs, lessening the financial burden on the taxpayers of the City of Pembroke. PFD must consider fees to help offset the costs of providing certain services for the community instead of continually relying on municipal taxpayer. The Firemark program is designed to provide cost recovery from insurance companies via the additional coverages section. Eligible fire department expenses contained in almost all property insurance policies in Canada. The fire department expense coverage is a non-deductible coverage that does not take away from the amount of funds the policyholder is entitled to receive for their property and contents. The Insurance Bureau of Canada requires that all property insurance policies carry a minimum coverage of $1,000 to offset costs directly related to firefighting. The Firemark program is designed to ensure that insurers honor the coverage for which the policyholder has paid their premium, which includes fire department expense coverage. There is no cost to the policyholder. The fire insurance coverage funds are above and beyond what the homeowner or business owner has for their insurance coverage. For example, if a property has $300,000 coverage for fire protection and a claim is made, the policyholder would still receive $300,000 in coverage. The cost recovery bill is paid out separately from the claim and does not directly impact the amount paid to the policyholder. If a policyholder does not make a claim, it is Firemark's policy not to file a claim, as the agency generally piggybacks upon the policyholder's claims process. This is established within the Firemark company, and it does not interfere with the no claims benefit that some insurers have with their policyholders. In lieu of municipalities undertaking the task of recovery fees for the provisions of fire-related service, Firemark has been engaged by several municipalities through agency agreement to provide this service. Firemark Incorporated uses a process specific to their own business where they collect data, review insured perils, policy wording, interpretations, invoicing, follow-up, and they do the records keeping. An agency agreement is signed between the municipality and Firemark, who act as an agent on behalf of the municipality in the recovery of costs for fire services provided. The fire department provides Firemark with the required information on mutually agreed schedule regarding calls attended and services performed by fire department. Quickly looking at the agreement, that is generally on a quarterly basis. The information is provided through the standard incident reports, which are already generated for the Fire Marshal's office. Firemark investigates the insurance coverage of the property owner or persons responsible for the incident to determine if there is a possibility for collection of costs under the fire insurance provisions of the insurance company coverage. Firemark submits a detailed invoice for services performed by the fire department based on the current user fee bylaw to the property owner's insurance company regarding costs for the incident. If insurance coverage is available, a recovery up to the maximum of fire coverage will be collected. Property owners will not be responsible for paying any outstanding amount of the invoice that exceeds the fire coverage on the insurance policy. If there is no insurance coverage or no coverage for fire department services, then no further action is taken and no funds are recovered. Should the insurer pay the coverage to the property owner would be liable to remit these funds to the municipality. Pembroke Fire Department marquee, the rates specifically for the Firemark would be established through the user fee bylaw, and they would be based on the cost recovery rates for costs incurred by the department for emergency response, and they may include specialized firefighting equipment or agents, such as fire suppression foam. They also do have included in some of the examples I've seen cost recovery on damaged items or equipment. So Firemark requires copies of the incident report that I had already mentioned and related documentation to put the necessary process of cost recovery forward. So Firemark would retain 30% of the recovered funds as payment for their services and would remit the remaining 70% to the fire department. They also provide complete and detailed accounting of all records, claims, and funds collected. So in consideration for the services provided, Firemark Incorporated will only receive their payments when emergency cost recovery proceeds are collected from the insurance companies. No additional budgetary considerations will be required by the city to fund this agency agreement. The agency agreement requires that the emergency cost recovery proceeds that are remitted to the fire department be used by the fire department for its own purposes. Those purposes may include the purchase of equipment for the fire department, the provision of training and education to the firefighters, the purchase and/or provisions of materials and equipment for fire inspections, fire prevention, and public education programs. So as a final example, the town of Bracebridge has been a longtime client of Firemark Inc. Over a 10-year period, Bracebridge recovered on average $3,000 for each of the 39 files submitted to Firemark. So alternate considerations. There are currently no other agencies operating a similar business in Ontario. As an alternate, some large municipalities may recover insurance coverage costs directly. However, staff would not recommend that this type of cost recovery be a direct activity of the department due to lack of staff time, resources, technological capacity, and expertise. So as far as impacting the strategic plan, with Council's approval of entering into this agreement, it would support organizational sustainability from a financial standpoint. The use of the funds recovered will help ensure that the effective operation of the Pembroke Fire Department and will help to provide non-tax revenues for the department.
Thank you, Chief. Councillor Keel and then Councillor Frenier.
So what are we doing now in terms of recovering this? Like, we're not doing it at all. So this is really just upside for us. I move that we do it.
Motion on the floor, seconder Councillor Frenier. Discussion, Councillor Frenier, and then Councillor Purcell.
So I know this isn't a lot of money, but I've been saying for years, there has to be some way we can recover, because like the more we go in there and the earlier we get in there and put a fire out, we are going to save the insurance company money eventually anyway. I'm really glad to see there is something that exists, because for years I've been saying, is there nothing we can get from insurance? I just want to know what type of calls. Is it any fire call? Is it like a chimney fire, kitchen fire? Does there have to be a certain level of damage to the home to make this claim? And my other question would be, what about collision calls? Would that count as well? Like, I know the fire we have to report if there's any kind of liquid in any vehicle collision. Would that also be included? Could you tell us a little more?
So through you, Mr. Chair, as far as this Firemark, the agency agreement, it only covers, it would only be applied to fire on specific properties. So for example, if it was a vehicle fire on a municipal thoroughfare, that wouldn't be applied. However, if it was a vehicle fire on an individual's property, that could be applied. House fires, I don't know the exact extent of where how far this reaches, but it does not apply to motor vehicle collisions. It wouldn't apply to water rescue. However, in reviewing this report and seeing that their costs that they use is built off of our user fee bylaw, We've built out the user fee bylaw a little bit to have that maybe come forward in 2026 when the city does its normal review of the user fees.
If a vehicle was sitting in your yard and your house and your vehicle were involved, then you would have two claims, one against the auto insurance and one's against,
It would just be fire insurance.
oh, just,
And yeah, no, it doesn't, they don't, the auto insurance isn't part of it. I don't think the mechanisms that they use to recover those costs in that specific policy would apply to the motor vehicle policies.
well, thank you. I'm glad something's coming now. Thank you.
Mr. Purcell?
Thanks, Chief, or Chair and Chief. Chief Chair. Yeah, I guess it's no different than if you take an ambulance to the hospital, right? You're paying the $45 in terms of an ambulance fee, right? So for the transportation costs and the paramedic costs, it's a nominal fee. But knowing how insurance companies operate, knowing that the municipality has this in effect, it could change everybody's rates, right? Because now, and this is just by the insurance company, the advocates for insurance companies, and also they're saying that a firefighting fee may cost the client a claims-free home insurance discount if they come to a home where there's very little damage, and they don't report, like, it's below the value in terms of deductible. So maybe there just needs to be a little bit more parameters around, when it's charged and how much it's charged. Yeah, and I think that's the important part. I'm a big believer in terms of recovering some of those costs, but then again, I don't want to disadvantage individuals by higher premiums or missing out on the claims-free home insurance discount just because a firefighter responded and there was very little damage. You know what I mean? So that's my only concern. I can send you the documents from rates.ca. It's insurance advocacy.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So the individuals who started this Firemark, they're all former insurance. They all come from the insurance industry. I've been told during initial meetings with the company that this does not have any impact on premiums. I've been told that it's not allowed to impact premiums. I've been told that this is already paid for by the individuals already and is part of their premiums. So, but I certainly do understand where you're coming from, and the intent is not to punish people. Like I don't want this to come across as we're going after people. Certainly the parameters that you had mentioned will be explored, because I like North Bay, Cornwall, Arnprior, like they've had this agreement in place for a long time. So I would definitely be exploring, and I think you do have a good point in taking a look at actually what's occurred and not going after everybody that maybe burnt some toast on the in the toaster. Like I think that is a little overextending the reach, and I think that would too be reflected in the if I was to go forward to this Firemark, if we do agree on an agreement, if I was to submit things, they'll send stuff back and say, no, this doesn't apply.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think just taking that into consideration that, insurance companies are out to make dollars, right? If they have to pay out more dollars, then they just boost everybody's premiums to cover those costs. So I don't know what insurance company you're with, but if they have to pay out dollars, typically you're paying for it down the road. So that's how they work. I just be cognizant of that. There may not be any cost, because don't forget, also the ratepayer is paying 100% of the costs in terms of the firefighting services. So we just need to be cognizant of that as well.
Okay, Councillor Keel.
I agree with Councillor Purcell that we certainly don't want to be nickel and diming taxpayers that are already paying for a fire service. Kind of like some stores where you have to pay to get in, and then you have to pay to what you buy in the store, and you kind of think, hold on, you're getting me in two different places. But I am going to go down this road and ask a question of, for the regular taxpayer, I'm perfectly agreeable with what Councillor Purcell was saying. But we also know that sometimes fires are caused by less than perfectly normal activities, sometimes criminal activities, drug houses and whatnot. If you're looking at your fee bylaw, is there any examples out there, and I don't want to use the word punished, but the recovery is different if it's based on illegal activity? Like, are there any examples where we would want to recover more because your inappropriate activity caused us to have to come out?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's something I would have to look into. I cannot say that I've seen anything like that. Yeah, I would have to do more exploring.
Okay, I wouldn't say I want you to spend a lot of time on it, but I'd be curious if that was a possibility.
Yeah, before we vote on it, yes, Councillor Purcell?
Just another follow-up, so I'm just trying to think about all the services that we have available to us. We did the same thing with the OPP services in terms of how many responses to a particular civic address. Would that decline or take away the urgency or the, what's the word I'm trying to think of, in terms of, calling the OPP for assistance because it could be dinged on their for cost recovery? So if we put it to OPP instead of the fire department, so in some cases, because people are very hesitant in terms of using insurance, period, right? And they'll go to every extent not to use insurance. Are they going to contact the fire department whenever they have something that's small? So, and it'd be the same thing in terms of OPP. If we're going to do this for fire department, how come we don't do it with the OPP? Why don't we just say, okay, every civic address that has more than 3 calls, how come we're not billing back all those costs? Maybe it's a topic of discussion, but then again, is it going to take away from those individuals from actually phoning for assistance from emergency services because they may be dinged for that call? Is what I'm getting at. Well, I think some people would rather put out a small little fire or attempt to put out a small little fire and not contact the fire department so that because they just don't have that uncertainty in terms of how it may impact my policy or my insurance. I'll tell you that happens. So you could be putting other people's life in jeopardy by somebody taking it on and saying, okay, it's just a small little kitchen fire. I'll go ahead and I think it's out. I'm not firing the fire department because it may impact my premiums or my insurance, even though it may not, because a lot of people don't understand how insurance works. And then all of a sudden, oh, okay, it's out. Leave the property and it starts back up again. You have a bigger fire. So I just want to point out some of these situations where if we're going to do this, then maybe are you looking at the same thing in terms of OPP?
So the chief has a comment, then Councillor Frenny, then we'll vote on it.
No, I through you, Mr. Chair, I completely understand Councillor Purcell's thoughts on this, and I just want to reiterate that's not the intent. The intent isn't to go after cost recovery on minor fires. It's the way this was presented to me was that it was an avenue for fire departments to recover minimal costs that insurance premiums have already paid for in insurance policies. My intent isn't to start going after everybody who's had little incidents, and there is a part in the agreement where it does state that, like, if the homeowner is not putting forward a claim, then there'll be no cost recovery.
Councillor Frenny, then we'll vote on it.
So the reluctancy to call the fire department, I don't know about that, but I know individuals are reluctant to go ahead and put an insurance claim in because their premium will go up. I'm not sure it's going to work the same if they have to pay us, because I know when you put in a large claim, your premiums are going to go up because they have to do work to repair your home or whatnot. Sometimes put you up in a hotel for a year. Who knows? I know people that have happened to. But I guess you have to get the insurance information from the resident first to file this. And as long as they know, because I would want to guarantee that this is not going to affect them. It's not going to make their premiums go up. So even if they've called you, they could still choose to not get the work done by the insurance company. But oh no, they have to file a claim. Okay, got it.
And then if they have a rider on their claim where they
Yeah.
have no accident kind of thing, well, then all of a sudden you lose that premium, right?
Okay.
We'll give you a couple different.
Just, just go through me.
I want you to get
Good.
more information.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
I just want to give one example.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Rural municipality of Corman Park, Saskatoon Fire Department charged $1,090.23 per unit for a first hour of service, $272 per unit for every 15 minutes after, with a maximum charge of $30,000. So in this particular situation, and I know you say this is not going to happen here, but a couple face more than a $62,000 bill when their home insurance policy only covered $10,000. So I think we just need to be cognizant of what that fee looks like and what does cost recovery look like, right? Because your insurance doesn't pay in terms of big dollars, depending on how much coverage that you have.
Right.
So it varies by coverage to coverage, and also the severity in terms of the property damages, right? So,
Chief?
And I know that I had mentioned in the report earlier that they do a detailed invoicing, but the total recovered cost is only what's through the policy, and it's not held, the homeowners are not held responsible for making up that difference.
but if I have a bigger policy
Yeah.
than somebody else, I have a $2 million policy. I guess if I have a $2 million policy instead of a $1 million policy, I'll be paying $50,000 instead of somebody else that has a fire that has a minimal policy that has $10,000. I just don't know the equity there.
I think just to reiterate, it's not you that's paying the money. You've already paid the money, and this is coming from the insurance company, which you've already provided the premiums to cover that cost.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Councillor Keel. Who seconded that motion? Councillor Frenier? That the Finance Administration Committee endorse and recommend approve the execution of the agency agreement with Firemark. Those in favor? Those opposed? One opposed, vote carried. A recorded vote.
Please, thank you.
Okay, clerk?
I don't know if I want to withdraw until I get more information. Yeah. I'd like to withdraw my motion till I get more information.
Well, you
Need a
seconded the
seconder on
motion.
that? I know, I seconded it, yeah, and I withdraw, I don't know. We voted.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I kind of wanted more information.
Okay, so recorded vote on the motion that is at hand. Deputy Mayor Brian Abdallah,
Yes.
Councillor Ed Jacquino is absent. Councillor Ian Keel,
Yay.
Councillor Pat Lafreniere,
Yes,
Councillor Andrew Plummer,
Yes.
Councillor Troy Purcell,
No.
and Mayor Ron Gerva.
Yay.
The vote is carried 5-1.
Thank you, clerk. Thank you, Chief.
thank you.
Next item, we have our municipal clerk, Ms. Charbonneau. Integrity Commissioner in closed meeting investigator services amending agreement. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. So today we have a report in front of us for a renewal of the Integrity Commissioner and Closed Meeting Investigator contract for Mary Ellen Bench of Bench Municipal Law. A bit of background on the report. As you all may remember, in February of this year, we entered into a contract with Bench Municipal Law to provide Pembroke with Integrity Commissioner and Closed Meeting Investigator services. That contract was for a year, and that yearly contract will be coming up in February of 2026. So in consultation with Bench Municipal, staff is presenting a committee for consideration an amending agreement which would allow Bench Municipal to continue representing the City of Pembroke as their Integrity Commissioner for a further 3 years. In addition, the amending agreement also provides a provision for an additional 3 years as if the parties so choose at that time. And also to note, the fees charged in the original service agreement will not be raised. Ms. Bench has confirmed that. So those will remain at $300 per hour or $1,500 per day to a maximum of 7 hours, whichever is less. And the draft amendment, or draft amending agreement and original service agreement are also included in the report. I'm happy to entertain any questions, should there be some.
Mr. Keel?
I don't support the rehiring of Mary Ellen Bench. I didn't like how she handled Councillor Lafreniere's report. I am tired of integrity commissioners recommending that we have a forced apology, like really tired of that. And I went back earlier today and reread Councillor Lafreniere's report. It's just not even well drafted. Like, it's hard to read, her writing style. It was poorly laid out. I would be willing to go an extra 6 months to give the clerk, because I kind of forgot that this was all coming up. I'd be willing to go a further 6 months so that we can search out another integrity commissioner that understands freedom of speech, that understands that we are not going to force each other to apologize like this is some sort of, I don't even know who forces people. I mean, they're usually third world countries that force people to say things against their will. So I don't want to continue with Mary Ellen Bench. And like I said, I'm not going to make a motion right now, but I would do another 6 months just to give you an appropriate amount of time to take care of this as opposed to doing it within the next few weeks.
Okay. Yep, fair comments. And just so committee is apprised, we were waiting on the update or potential amendment of Bill 9, which is the Municipal Accountability Act. That was just going into the legislature, I believe. We only got some recent updates at the end of October that there are no meaningful amendments expected. So that means at this point we're not really looking at a standard code of conduct for all of councils in Ontario. So upon that announcement, Ms. Bench and myself had a meeting late last week to discuss moving forward to look at the current code of conduct for the City of Pembroke. So you will receive some correspondence on that, just on how we're moving forward. And then that will also entail, next steps on how we treat reporting out and touching on the freedom of speech and how we outline that in our code of conduct.
Councillor Keel and then Councillor Purcell.
So with that in mind, because I do recognize that the legislation was passed allowing the municipality by regulation to do a standard code, and I guess if they're not going to bother doing that, which seems like a very weird coming of an event, again, I would be prepared in that case to go another 6 months to see what we can do with Mary Ellen Bench in terms of updating our code of conduct. And then presumably she would come back to us about what we want to see in terms of free speech recognition and disciplinary things such as whether an apology is important. So I would be willing to give some leeway to see how that would come about, because if we're not going to get a standard code of conduct, then I do want our code of conduct reviewed, and I think some other members have expressed that as well. So in that regard, I'd be happy to see what her thoughts are, I guess, under the existing legislation that allows us to take care of our code of conduct. I haven't liked what she's responded with our current version. But if we can change that, which we weren't going to because of the legislation, if we can change that, that might give me a different perspective.
Yeah, and I believe Ms. Bench is open to, further conversations on that regard and how we move forward and, what we're allowed to modify, according to the Act. So yes, that will be coming to you early next week. We'll be getting some feedback and presenting some drafts along with the public code of conduct as well policy. So again, we were just waiting to see where all of this lied in its stage of, review. And yes, we'll be making some changes accordingly. And then to note, where was I going with that? Sorry. I lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Were you going to make a motion, Councillor Keel, for 6 months?
Yeah, I would at this point.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Plummer, motion on the floor for 6-month extension. And speakers, Councillor Purcell.
I honestly think that, this type of conversation should happen in the first term of the election years, right? So, they should be identifying the services that are available to provide integrity services, that should be a discussion maybe at the new council. So I propose that, we just continue with their current provider, and then have that discussion at the next round of council, the next sitting of councils. And the reason for that is I think that there's a little bit more buy-in in regards to the supports and services, what's available, and and that those individuals vote on the type of services that they're going to be receiving. So I would propose that we just continue with those services until the end of this council term, and then that'll be a topic of discussion with the next council.
So, any other speakers for the motion for 6 months? Councillor Fennier?
So I see the validity in Councillor Purcell's comments too, because next year is an election year. So to proceed, extend it from February for 6 months, you're going to be in the heat of an election, and then you're going to be looking at renewing her again, maybe to just get you through the election. So I tend to think a year for sure. And I think that Ms. Bench understands the climate that we are all working in right now, and understands maybe the corrections that need to be made when it comes to policy around councillors, what they can say, code of conduct, because we all know it's a heated environment right now. And so I think a year might be best. And I think with the new council coming in could discuss it, and if there's existing councillors here that can give the information of what we've experienced through this process and our opinions on it, maybe we'll come out with a better result when it comes to code of conduct.
And also have a new procedural bylaw.
And yeah, so
So,
I just think that might be.
Councillor Keel?
I just think that those of us who have experienced this, and all of us, not just the ones that have, but to put that on a new councillor, I'm trying to figure out how you even understand in those first few months what you're going to be talking about. We're not talking about budgets, we're talking really internal baseball. And to put that on new councillors that wouldn't even, that are still, that are still figuring out where Victoria's office is and are going to be in the middle of their first budget. If we're going to do 1 year, I think we should do a year and a half. I'll be honest with you, I'm not that keen on her, and it's based on the report that she wrote and reading her report. So I'm going to stick to my 6 months, but I think 1 year would be a disservice to new councillors because they're going to be getting their feet wet. So I think if anything, we should be saying a year and a half, if not the 6 months. But I would like to stick with the 6 months.
We have a motion on the floor for 6-month extension made by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Plummer, yes?
Just to further comment to the 6 months, why I agreed. I think at that point, after 6 months, we can see what she's done with the code of conduct, and then maybe that time, if we like the contract too, we can then extend further. So it's kind of like either you show us what you can do, and then we'll see if we want to continue or not. So that's why I'm in agreement with the 6 months.
So a motion by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Plummer, to extend the agreement with Mary Ellen Bench Municipal Law for 6 months. Call the question. Those in favor? Oh, yes?
I didn't want to be disrespectful.
Sorry.
Thanks, through you, Chair. So just 2 points for consideration. As we did just go out to request for proposal late last fall, Mary Ellen Bench did come through with weighted highest average expertise versus, what she could offer price point wise. So we'll likely be looking at a more expensive cost. Not that cost is the sole contributor to an RFP proposal being deemed the winner. And then secondly, there is a provision in 6A of the term of agreement that the city may release the consultant from the agreement at any time with 30 days written notice. So for consideration as well, I can certainly extend for the 6 months and let Mary Ellen know that, or we can go from there knowing those 2 points.
Councillor Keel.
So we can lock in for 3 years and let her go on 30 days' notice.
As per 6A written notice, yep, and it says at any time.
So,
Yeah, I'd seek the consent of council to withdraw my motion.
withdraw your motion? Okay.
And,
Yeah,
and then move that we do the 3 years.
your motion for 3 years? 3 years. Seconder for that? You're seconded the motion for 3 years? Councillor Purcell, any further discussion on that? Yes, Councillor Purcell.
Question, what is the timeline in terms of having the rewrite of the procedural bylaw?
Yeah, so just due to departmental
Right.
constraints, it is well underway.
Okay.
Based on all of the feedback I received last year, but if there is any additional feedback, I'm happy to get that as well. I'm hoping by January, the end of January, just with all of the year-end reporting that the clerk's department has to do currently.
And the reason I ask that is, we set the rules, and she she judges how we actually adhere ourselves to those rules, such as the code of conduct, the procedural bylaw. So having some clarity in terms of, some of the language, especially our procedural bylaw, really would help with the interpretation in terms of some of these things. And I think that we can set the rules within that document, so that way she knows how to proceed moving forward based on those parameters. So that's why it's really important.
Motion on the floor to extend the agreement for 3 years, moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Purcell. Call the question. Those in favor? Carried. Thank you. I haven't said it yet.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Purcell. Those in favor? We are adjourned.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of council to order for November 4th. I'd ask that everyone please take an opportunity to stand, those who wish, for an opening prayer or reflection. Before opening this meeting of council, I would ask those who wish, each in your own way, silently join a prayer of guidance over these proceedings. Thank you. Are there any disclosed pecuniary interests in relation to the items on this council meeting agenda? Seeing none. Dealing with minutes, the first set of minutes is a regular meeting of council, October 7th, 2025. Entertain a motion for their approval. I have the deputy mayor, second by Councillor Keogh. Those in favor? That is carried. We have a series of minutes for adoption this evening. First is Planning and Development Committee, October 7th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Keogh, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? That is adopted, carried. Next is Finance and Administration Committee, October 7th, 2025. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Purcell. Those in favor? And that is carried. We have two sets of minutes to receive this evening from local boards. The first is the Ottawa Valley Waste Management Board, June 19th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Those in favor? That is carried. Last but not least is receiving minutes from Pembroke Heritage Murals Committee, October 1st, 2025. I have the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? That is carried. Moving forward to proclamations. Whereas water, wastewater, and stormwater operators are dedicated professionals working tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure that delivery of clean, safe drinking water, the effective treatment of wastewater, and the sound management of stormwater systems, and whereas water operators oversee complex treatment systems, monitor water quality, and respond to system demands and emergencies to ensure continuous access to safe water, and whereas wastewater operators are responsible for the collection and treatment of sewage and industrial waste, preventing pollution in our rivers, lakes, and natural ecosystems, and whereas stormwater operators protect properties and infrastructure by managing runoff, reducing flood risk, and enhancing water quality through innovative green infrastructure, whereas the dedication and expertise of these vital workers ensure our community remains a safe and sustainable environment. On October 23rd, it was Operator Appreciation Day, and as a result of the council meeting in October, I bring forward this proclamation at this time due to the importance of it. It is all too easy for us to take for granted when you turn on your tap that you have safe drinking water, as well that when you flush the toilet, that everything is properly disposed of. There are many men and women that are the unsung heroes that ensure that we are safe and that and that there is no repeat of Walkerton and the Walkerton situation. And I would ask each of you to, and every ratepayer, to consider taking a moment to consider and thank staff, which are the backbone of our water, wastewater, and stormwater systems. And so therefore, I, Ron Jerva, Mayor of the City of Pembroke, hereby proclaim October 23rd, 2025 as Operator Appreciation Day of the City of Pembroke, dedicated to recognizing the vital contributions of Ontario's water, wastewater, and stormwater operators. With the indulgence of council, I have a second proclamation, and just because of the timing, it did not make it to the agenda, but due to its importance, I bring forward that I hereby declare November 2nd through to the 8th, 2025 as National Animal Shelter Appreciation Week in the City of Pembroke. Whereas animal centers across Canada provide essential services to support animals and the people who care about them. And whereas center staff and volunteers work tirelessly and compassionately to rescue, rehabilitate, and rehome animals in need, often going above and beyond to ensure every animal receives the chance at a better life. And whereas our animal centers are vital partners in creating safe, compassionate communities from adoption, emergency boarding, animal care, emergency responses, and community outreach. And whereas National Animal Shelter Appreciation Week, observed annually during this first full week of November, offers an opportunity to recognize the invaluable contributions of animal services in our region, as well as the dedicated individuals who serve in these life-sustaining roles. I know for myself, I was approached by Heather from our local OSPCA, and having adopted a dog in the last year from the OSPCA, this certainly strikes me and strikes home, giving these individuals a place to call home and a second chance at life. And it's kudos to organizations like our OSPCA that make that possible. Without them, I wouldn't want to think about what happens to these animals, and I certainly wouldn't want to think about what would happen to our dog. And so therefore, I, Ron Jerva, Mayor of the City of Pembroke, hereby proclaim November 2nd through to the 8th, 2025 as National Animal Shelter Appreciation Week in the City of Pembroke, dedicated to honoring the organizations and individuals who embody compassion, resilience, and hope for animals in need, and to encourage members of the public to support and engage with their local animal centers through volunteering, fostering, donating, or adopting. Moving ahead with bylaws, the first we have is 2025-76 Highway 148 Sidewalk Agreement. Councillor Plummer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Abdallah, that bylaw 2025-76, a bylaw to authorize the entering into agreement for the construction and maintenance of a sidewalk on Highway 148 adjacent to the City of Pembroke, jurisdiction between the Ministry of Transportation for the Province of Ontario and the Corporation City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further said be signed by Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Plummer and seconded by the Deputy Mayor that bylaw 2025-76, a bylaw to authorize the entering into of an agreement for the construction and maintenance of sidewalk on Highway 148 adjacent to the City of Pembroke jurisdiction between the Ministry of Transportation for the Province of Ontario and the Corporation of the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation. Councillor Plummer?
Yes, just a quick note. So this is to build and maintain a sidewalk from our city limits, basically so from Greenside Street heading to Angus Campbell, and then further carrying on a ways as part of the 148 construction or updating of the road. So we've all been timely waiting for. So hopefully they're finalizing everything now, and we can start construction then next year. So great.
Thank you. So with that, call the question. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Councillor Plummer, I believe you have the second one, 2025-77, to repeal bylaw 2025-25.
Yeah, that is correct. Thank you, Your Worship. Move myself, as by Councillor Keel, that bylaw 2025-77, a bylaw to repeal bylaw 2025-25, being a bylaw to authorize the entering into a corporation agreement with Zero Emissions Vehicle Infrastructure Program, or ZIPIT, between His Majesty the King and the right of Canada and the Corporation City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed the Corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Plummer and seconded by Councillor Keel that bylaw 2025-77, a bylaw to repeal bylaw 2025-25, being a bylaw to authorize the entering into of a contribution agreement for Zero Emission Vehicle Infrastructure Program, ZVIP, between His Majesty the King and Right of Canada and the Corporation of the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation.
So this was originally this was a bylaw that we were going to get a grant to install fast chargers out at the fire hall, but upon council deciding not to proceed with the purchase of electric buses at this time, there is currently no other vehicle in the city's fleet that would require these chargers. We did look at them and if they could be converted to public use, but under the grant it was not. It was only for municipal use only. So with that not having any electric vehicles to utilize these chargers, it seemed just not in good practice to go ahead and purchase them at this time.
Thank you. Well said. Those in favor? Against? And it's carried. Next one is 2025-78 Recreation Burning Bylaw. Councillor Purcell.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Fernier that bylaw 2025-78, a bylaw to regulate the recreational open-air burning and precautions to be taken by the owner of the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further that said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Purcell and seconded by Councillor Lafreniere that bylaw 2025-78, a bylaw to regulate recreational open-air burning and precautions to be taken by the owner of the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation. Councillor Purcell.
Thanks again, Mayor. Just some changes in terms of our open fire policy, which also includes some additional dollars for renewals, as well as the initial assessment from $110 to $60. And the big change is also going from like a year-to-year kind of date. Now it's going to be up based on calendar year. So January 1st, everybody will have to renew their recreation burn permits. Thank you.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, are there, let's see here. There's no motions, no correspondence, bringing us to mayor's report. Good evening, everyone. On October 8th, I had the pleasure of welcoming managers, clerks, and treasurers to the beautiful city of Pembroke as they attended the AMCTO conference. It's always an excellent opportunity to showcase our community with such conferences, drawing in individuals from all over. On October 11th was the Pembroke Firefighters Open House, and I was happy to see so many individuals attending and taking in something to eat and meeting with Sparky, as was mentioned by Councillor Purcell. Well done to the firefighters underneath the leadership of Chief Sell. On October 22nd, a police board meeting was held. Of note is that there are many areas of crime statistically that in many areas the crime is statistically trending downwards. October 18th was the Germania Club's Oktoberfest celebration. There was great fun and food for those attending. Special shout out to the executive and volunteers for keeping the German culture alive. Bravo to everyone who participated and those that organized it, because it's certainly no small feat to put on such a wonderful event, and we look forward to the Chris Crindle Mart, which will be held on November 21st. October 22nd, I attended the grand opening of a new business in the downtown, being Platform, 21 Pembroke Street West on the second floor, and I would ask that everyone please support our local businesses, young and old, as they are the driving force of our local economy. October 23rd, I had the honor of participating in the first poppy presentation at the Legion. Commences its poppy season. Please support the Legion by volunteering to sell poppies or by simply purchasing a poppy. I guess donating towards a poppy is more apt, at the various locations throughout the city. October 24th, I had the pleasure of attending with our CEO the grand opening of La Vie en Rose in the Pembroke Mall. Again, another great store located here in the beautiful city of Pembroke, and please support local. October 27th, the pleasure of attending the Special Olympics Award ceremony with a tug-of-war competition between the Olympians and the OPP, as well as firefighters. The recipients of the awards were very pleased to receive all of their different awards, and it's just a great opportunity to see the fire department and the OPP coming together to assist in that endeavor. October 29th, wonderful day, as the grand opening of the PRH Chemotherapy and Medical Daycare Space was officially opened at PRH. This facility will enable patients to get treatments in their own community, being the city of Pembroke. Many thanks to Sabine Mersman, as well as the PRH board, foundation board, volunteers, members of the public who generously gave money and talent towards this initiative. It's just wonderful listening to one individual who suffered from cancer and got to receive treatments right here and was most appreciative. November 1st was the grand opening of MPP Deneau's office here in Pembroke, and he received a warm welcome from the community as well as various dignitaries, and so we certainly welcome him to those accommodations. As for other matters, so the Community Service Committee met on October 8th, being the County of Renfrew that we sit upon. Of interest from that meeting is that I share with you in 2025, the third quarter progress update. It was noted that as of September 11, 2025, there was 10 suspected drug toxicity deaths in RCD, which is a 56% decrease over 2024 and a 67% decrease over 2023. It's noteworthy as a community we continue to address social issues pertaining to drug use, but I do note, as has always been pointed out to me, is that one death is one death too many. The Highway 17 County Committee met on October 29th that the City of Pembroke again sits upon. Very good meeting to discuss ongoing efforts and strategy with the Province of Ontario to continue to twin the Highway 17 from Arnprior all the way through to Chalk River. It's another opportunity or another example of the County of Renfrew and the City of Pembroke working together for all of our citizens. On the issue of crime, and noteworthy for our community is that I want to reiterate that, as we all know, the news is that the federal government has brought forward a bill to amend the criminal code for crimes committed by violent and repeat offenders, and so we await to see how that progresses through the legislature and to see how that progresses and hopefully has the desired effect. As for Pembroke Candy Bus, as your rep to it, I can indicate that for October 2025 over October 2024, there was a slight increase of 92 trips, and the handy bus continues to invoice the city of Pembroke for the differential in terms of the $7 to the $5. As always, stay safe and be kind to one another. Are there any notices of motion? Are there any councillor updates? Okay, Councillor Keel.
Your Worship, I bring to you perhaps a larger than usual Festival Hall update. I think the last one was earlier in the year where we talked about the fact that under the new leadership at Festival Hall and under the new contract, we now have some revenue sharing for the first time in many years. So that includes $1.25 per ticket sold and 15% of proceeds from the canteen. So I told you for quarter one, the consortium that produced $4,424. In Q2, that produced $7,349. And our new numbers for Q3, which I will admit are a little small because that covers the 2 summer months where not much goes on, still $1,685. So far this year in revenue sharing, that reinvests $13,459 into Festival Hall with still the fourth quarter to go. With some of that new money, I am very happy to update this council to say that we are currently proceeding with a new lighting package. Some of the lights at Festival Hall are older than I am, literally from the 1979 original build, we believe. So it is going to be great to get some new lights for the Festival Hall, particularly the new LED lights that don't throw as much heat for those of us that have been, well, I guess most of us were on the stage for the debate, and that certainly gets hot up there. I also want, Your Worship, to thank our staff. Elijah has been an extraordinary resource for the Festival Hall Consortium. He does an exceptional job. He gets answers to questions anytime that you ask him for it. He puts in a lot of work for the Festival Hall Consortium, and I certainly hope, Dave, that you will pass along that we put him in the spotlight here tonight because the consortium could not operate without the work that Elijah does. As well, our finance department supports things like our procurement or whatnot. So earlier this year when we were getting the new Festival Hall director, and they're currently working on the lighting RFP. So certainly I want to thank everybody in our finance department that assists us in that end as well. In terms of upcoming events, Your Worship, this Saturday is the Ottawa Valley Festival of Remembrance, which I am very honored to co-chair with Desbert Patel. The money raised by this event, and I can tell you that we certainly are well into the black now. The money raised by this event is going to Fireteam Canine, a local charity that raises support dogs for veterans and first responders, a very worthy charity. And so basically at this point, Your Worship, every seat sold is a $25 donation to Fireteam Canine. Plus you're going to get an event that is going to include a brand new dance choreography by Stars in Motion, and I certainly thank Chantel for doing that for us. Christian Whalen, a veteran, is going to be playing Stereotypical, whose drummer James is currently serving in the military, and the headliner on Saturday night is Music Healing Veterans, which is obviously a group of veterans that use music to soothe their mental health issues. So I would certainly encourage everybody to attend. There's also a silent auction, and we have, I don't even know how many items we now have donated for the silent auction. So that will be yet another way to raise money for Music Healing Veterans. I know Your Worship is attending, and I thank you for that. Also coming up, November 15th, we have Dreamer, which is a Supertramp tribute, and tickets for that are doing very well. On November 20th, Canadian Steam. It is a music and comedy show with a very tongue-in-cheek Canadian theme to it. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it should be very interesting. November 28th is Epic Eagles, which is an Eagles tribute. And rounding out the month on November 29th is a rock tribute featuring Pink Floyd tribute and Led Zeppelin tribute. In terms of other things that have been happening, I was very happy to attend downtown with Councillor Purcell and his wife for the trick-or-treating. Little did we know Councillor Lafreniere would come by trick-or-treating. She says she was there with her grandchildren, but I don't know. And the deputy mayor was there, and he looks he lost some weight since the trick-or-treating event. I poke fun because he was wearing one of those big blow-up outfits. After that, the deputy mayor and I went over to Shamrock Park, where I bid on a crepe cake in support of the Boys and Girls Club, and it was made by the Nook Creperie, and it was beyond amazing. The family and I absolutely loved it. So I look forward to Joanna making another donation of a crepe cake at a future event. I was also able to attend Oktoberfest with your worship, and of course it's always good to not only celebrate my own personal cultural background, but to just have a lot of fun. It's probably one of Pembroke's marquee just fun cultural events during the year. And as his worship said, this past Saturday, I was able to attend with many municipal officials, and our CAO was also there with us, the deputy mayor and the mayor, to celebrate Billy Deno, our MPP's official office opening. And as a former councillor of Arnprior, it's certainly great to have him spending as much time as he is up here in Pembroke. I know he's crisscrossing the riding in a way that his Facebook page makes me a little dizzy, but that's I guess that's his role now, and he's certainly doing it well. And after the official opening, I went up to Petawawa for the veteran-owned business expo put on by the town of Petawawa, and that was a really good event. All of the vendors were veteran-related. They certainly had a lot of people went through there throughout the course, and I wasn't even there for all of it because I was at Billy's grand opening. And then after that on Saturday, I went and watched the Toronto Blue Jays game, and I don't want to talk about that. Didn't go the way we wanted, but it was a really good series, and I know a lot of people in Pembroke suddenly caught the Blue Jays mood this last little while, and that's it for this week. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Lafreniere?
Yeah, I just want to say kudos to everyone in the area that makes fall really fun in the valley. It's just been activity after activity. I see some familiar faces at all the activities, although you look a little different here at council. I want to thank you for being big advocates in our community at all these events. It really shows council support. I mean, I went to the pumpkin decorating downtown with the BIA, and it was wonderful. I got some beautiful decorated pumpkins. The Jamie Bramberger Memorial Hockey Tournament on October 25th, Saturday night, was wonderful and very well attended. The Blue Jays game didn't seem to affect it too much. The people really came out, and I'm sure that Jamie was smiling, watching all the comments and the commentaries of his life and how he served the people of Pembroke and area so well. So I want to thank the organizers for making a great tribute to a wonderful man. And also, Laurentian Valley, they're doing a great job too. Our partners in recreation, the Haunted Trail was again great this year. I was there, and yes, it was for my grandchildren. It isn't always for me. So yes, and I'll continue to support all those events. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Purcell?
Thanks, Mayor.
I had the pleasure of attending the Environmental Stewardship Council meeting at Canadian Nuclear Laboratories on October the 23rd. We received an update on their GOCO procurement processes in terms of the delays, in terms of the process. There's some delays in terms of the new GOCO organization coming in. So the current or the past management team is staying on for a period of time until they sort out those concerns. Also received a business update from CNL, a presentation on the quarterly environmental performance reports. We also had an opportunity to do a tour in terms of the fuel consolidation areas, as well as sort and segregation facility tours and waste management. Waste analysis facility tour as well. And we also had the opportunity to discuss the recent incident where contaminated sludge ended up in our landfill site. We had a discussion about that, and there's more of a formal report that's coming out. That being said, the contaminated soil that ended up in the dump site has actually been removed and it's been remediated. So there's no issues or concerns. So they're just trying to figure out how it got off site through that process in terms of checking it. So. One thing I did want to talk about, and if I could find the presentation, I'll be even doing better here. Bear with me for a second. In terms of the amount of buildings that they're taking down, it's just huge. They have the Advanced Nuclear Materials Research Center underway. I don't know, maybe some of the individuals probably toured, within the last couple of years. It was a big hole in the ground. Now they got some foundation. They're working on the first level. It's one of the biggest, I think it's one of the biggest projects in Canada that's happening right now in terms of infrastructure projects. So it's a huge facility that's going to accept all, the research materials that they do for Canadian nuclear. I don't know if you've been watching some of the things that were happening in terms of the announcements of the federal budget. A lot of talk in terms of small modular reactors that they're going to be building, $2 billion down in Pickering. Darlington, I think it was just announced today. So all this spin-off has some really good opportunities for some of the companies that are here, including Canadian Nuclear Laboratories. So a lot of good things that are happening there, and I think just so proud to kind of see some of the work that's continuing, and ensuring that that they're meeting the Canada's mission. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the downtown treats, and I wanted to thank the mayor for his contribution in terms of all the candies. That was awesome. So I think it was a great turnout that was had by all the children. Better that day than it was on Halloween night with a little bit of rain that we had. So I think we probably saw less, at least I did. I saw less trick-or-treaters, but I think everybody took advantage of that Saturday downtown, which is always a fun time. And I think, the children really appreciate that, and it was just a real fantastic, fun event, and opportunity to dress up and talk to our children and see the joy on their face when they get a little piece of candy. I think it's just so fantastic. So anyway, yeah, thank you very much.
Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a few things. I have the pleasure of helping organize the annual Got You in Mind fundraiser. It's November 15th at the Fitzy Sports Bar, $10 cover. This is to help Blanche Miro and her volunteers at Got You in Mind thrift store. As I've always said before, Blanche gives out more than she receives. Heart of gold, and we hope that the public will come and support Blanche. We want to thank all the bands that are volunteering, Mike Graham for booking the bands, and Jeremy Connor for doing the sound. And it's a really community event, and Blanche doesn't get she's not a registered charity, she's a social enterprise, so the money goes directly to pay the rent. So we hope the public will support that on November 15th. If you want more information, they can contact me. The night of the Jamie Bramberger event, my wife and I attended the Diwali celebration, so you can't go to both places. Put on by Valley Hindu Parivar. It was they change locations every year, but the East Indian community is very strong in Pembroke, Deep River, Petawawa, and we want to thank them for the mayor of Petawawa was there, and we want to thank them for the continual support of cultural events in the area. The Valley Hindu Parivar is a new organization led by Ankit Vyas, who's on our transit committee, and they work with the local immigration partnership to welcome newcomers to the area. So we want to say thanks to them. Today I had the pleasure of sponsoring Melanie Freeman. She's a resident care for in Cecilia. She is walking every day till December 31st to raise $12,000, and the walk is called Care for Seniors Walk with Melanie. And she's already raised $4,000. So if anybody wants to know more about it, it's on Facebook and the Care for webpage. Care for help over 20,000 seniors every year in the area and extended area and all across Canada, and a great organization, nonprofit. I also want to thank, I saw the city had a post on social media to acknowledge the PBIA, Pembroke Business Improvement Association, for the veteran banners. This is my second term on the PBIA, and this was started last term of council. We were one of the first ones in the area to start this, and you know, the banners are. My wife and I walked down the trail the other night, and her father's banner is over at the post in the farmers market. You know, fought in World War II, came back, and so many of us here have been touched by veterans, and it's really emotional a time of year, and we want to thank the PMA for that, and the residents of Pembroke who have sponsored it. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Moving forward, closed session, and Councillor Fernie, I understand you have a motion to move into the closed session.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Ian Keel, that this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board as it relates to an agreement with the PBIA and the City of Pembroke, and litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality as per Section 239(2)E of the Municipal Act as it relates to 273 Victoria Street.
Thank you. Motion by Councillor Fenier, second by Councillor Keel. The meeting become a closed meeting. Discuss position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or behalf of municipality, local board as it relates to an agreement between the PBIA and the City of Pembroke. And secondly, litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality as per Section 239(2)E of the Municipal Act as it relates to 273 Victoria Street. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. We will now move into a closed session.